Hello and welcome to Cloud Speed by Deloitte. In this regular podcast series, we'll delve into the world of cloud, answering some of those tricky questions, getting to grips with all that cloud has to offer, and keeping you up to speed on recent developments. So let's begin, shall we?
Welcome everyone to the next episode of Cloud Speed. Cloud is powering every digital transformation. It is how we deliver the future of work, enhance customer experience, harness the power of analytics, and achieve the agility we all desire. In order to take full advantage of the opportunities presented by cloud and to truly transform, we need to embed a digital mindset in every aspect of our organization's DNA. But just why is this mindset so critical to be successful with cloud and the broader business transformation? And as business leaders, what are some of the changes you need to embrace in order to help your business meet its potential? To explore this with me is our business operations leader, Lorraine Barnes. Welcome, Lorraine. Could I please request you to introduce yourself?
Thanks, Artie. Our business operations team in the UK is 1,300 strong, and that team is comprised of cloud and technology delivery professionals who work very closely with deep business process specialists in order to enable transformation in the clients we work with. This is what I do in the market. I work with banks primarily. And when I'm not in work, I think you know, I like to run around the parks in London, and I love doing handstands. I love live theater, and I've always got a lot on the go.
I've always seen your photos and admired your handstands, Lorraine. We should try that together sometime.
I'd love that.
And thank you for taking the time to talk to us today. I couldn't have thought of a better person to explore the topic of digital transformation.
Thanks, Artie.
Let's get right into it. Lorraine, you have led a number of digital transformation efforts. And what do you think is a good description for digital DNA? And why do organizations need to have it?
So digital DNA is a term that's quite widely used. For us, I think it means to adopt a digital mindset that enables everyone in the organization to know and understand what they need to do in order to transform and respond to customers and the market. For us, I think there are probably three big parts to that. There's having a compelling narrative around what your organization does and how it does it. There's also a style aspect to it. The ways of working that go alongside digital DNA are fundamental to making it successful. And I think for me, the third part is the substance of it. It's what we have, the measurable characteristics and the policies, the metrics, the governance, the processes that all make it work.
Thanks, Lorraine. That's super helpful. Could you talk us through an example where the right leadership drove this right mindset for the transformation? And what stood out for you in this instance?
Yeah, I think that, we most often draw our examples from smaller organizations, fintechs, where we see that really nimble behavior and often quite a different style of leadership and openness to innovations. I have seen this also work well in larger organizations, but I think it's a little bit more rare. When I have seen it work, there tends to be a leader who not only has the mindset, but empowers the team and really takes on the experiential learning and the risk, frankly, associated with innovating and really responding in a creative way to typical business problems.
That's excellent. Your particular point on risk caught my attention. And I had a follow-on question to that. How prevalent do you think this risk-taking ability, the openness for change, for want of a better word, the digital mindset, is within senior boardroom right now?
Yeah, great question. I think the awareness and the mindset is really quite prevalent. I think that we've come a long way in recent years, and the executives in the boardrooms that I meet are very, very highly aware and educated and, often practiced as well. I think, though, that where the challenge comes in is that the mindset is not enough. The mindset needs to marry with reinforcing actions and behaviors. It needs to be called into practice. And sometimes traditional organizations have a way of sort of blocking those ways of working or certainly not enabling it. So I think the mindset is prevalent. I think what we're struggling to see is that mindset translated into large scale organizational and behavioral change.
Thank you very much for that, Lorraine. In order to be truly digital, what do organizations need to prioritize in that case then?
Well, first and foremost, customers. So I think customer centricity is the fundamental thing that would characterize an organization as really having that digital DNA. There's also something about mindset, which I would say translates into readiness for change. So the ability to thrive in uncertainty, the ability to have a constant quest for business outcomes and to respond in ways that are really agile. And I think the third ingredient for me would be collaboration. Organizations really need to be open to change and to work cross borders within the organization in order to be successful in this way.
That's a topic that's really close to my heart, collaboration, especially in the current working setup that we have. I somehow feel it's made it easier to collaborate with global teams because all of us are virtual. It does not it's quite an inclusive environment that started emerging as a consequence of everyone being virtual. What has been your experience on that, Lorraine?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the current situation has forced us to innovate really quickly in terms of ways of working. And it does actually help us come together quite often, despite the fact that we're not physically together. So I agree with you entirely. And I hope that we don't lose some of these ways of working as we start to return to the office, but also that we can find those moments where we all accelerate our learning. What a unique opportunity we've all had in the world to learn an entirely new way of working really rapidly.
Couldn't agree more, Lorraine. But coming back to our digital leadership, how have you enabled and coached some of the leaders that are attempting digital transformation?
Well, I always look first at alignment because I think that being a digital leader who is not surrounded by other digital leaders or indeed hasn't infused the mindset throughout the team is a very hard job indeed. So, I look at the alignment of the team and make sure that they are similarly in a mindset and point of view. I think having common clarity of purpose that is really widely understood is critical to transformation. And so for me, that would be another key ingredient that I would work to deliver in the early days of any program. The sponsorship is crucial. And I think what the sponsorship does then is enable levels of autonomy that may be slightly unnatural for the organization, but they are essential to experiential learning and delivery and new ways of working. I think there's another part that's really crucial as well, and that is about seeing leadership not just at the executive level, but at all levels in the organization. And for me, where transformation happens best is where we can see the leadership come through the delivery teams and come through the teams who are creating the transformation on the ground and work its way upward. And then you know that the DNA is really in the organization.
The leadership at all levels is such a great point, Lorraine. And I think that ties quite closely with the level of autonomy we're able to provide these leaders at all levels. What are your perspectives around that?
I'll be honest, I think that is one of the hardest things. And I think that's where many of the barriers come in because, it is one thing to set up a cross-functional team to deliver, but then the HR processes, the finance processes, the risk and controls, particularly in banking, but in many other regulated businesses as well, can really hamper the progress of a small collaborative cross-functional group. And so I think the autonomy is crucial because it needs to allow that group in some ways and in safe ways to operate in around those barriers and over those obstacles so that they can get on and move at pace.
That's again a great point in terms of how all the supporting and enabling functions should also come together to make these truly cross-functional skills have the degree of autonomy to drive the digital mindset that we are talking about. That's come one full circle. That's brilliant. Shifting gears a little bit, Lorraine, I wanted to explore the role that cloud leaders play in digital transformation.
I think that's a great question because in my mind, the role of the cloud leader is an essential one. Cloud, I see as something that will broadly enable and accelerate changes in ways of working in large organizations more rapidly than we've seen in recent years. And the reason I say that is because I think that it puts more power in the hands of the business people, the business users. If I take as an example some of the work that I've been doing with banks who are implementing cloud solutions like Amazon Connect, for example, in the contact center, the business suddenly has the ability to imagine requirements that can be implemented quite readily and quite quickly. And that changes the dynamic. It means that, on the one hand, the business probably needs to start exercising muscles they're not used to using in terms of thinking about their customer challenges and how to respond to those in an agile way. At the same time, though, the IT organization needs to keep the organization safe, needs to make sure that the organization is well engaged with regulators and security and risk, and to guide it safely through change that may be coming in a much more rapid way than the organization is used to.
That's super insightful, Lorraine. I'd like to add an additional element here that I see on a day-to-day basis. Cloud leaders play the most important role in bringing the regulators and the regulatory safety within the organization, to your point around keeping IT safe. And they have a very important role to play. I also feel they are a bit of a coach when it comes to digital transformation to some of the business leaders, because cloud sometimes is a solution looking for a problem. And while the business leaders have the problem that they need to solve for, they're not often able to join the dots with the solution that's available to do that. And they're almost playing the role of a coach in terms of mapping solutions and problems together. I also wanted to explore another topic building on this theme, and it's about rebooting the digital workplace. We have had digital transformation conversations where we're not only talking about the people, process, technology, but also the workplace. And I couldn't think of a better person to pose this question to. Leading 1,300 people, Lorraine, how are you envisioning the digital workplace of the future for us as a firm? And within your capability and your practice, how are you envisioning this to sort of evolve over time?
Well, I guess because it's so topical, I'll start first with the physical workspace, very much on our minds. So heading into 2020, we were very well enabled in our physical spaces for collaboration. As I've mentioned, the current situation has accelerated our thinking about collaborating in a digital way. And so I think that what will be interesting for us in coming months will be how we merge the physical and the digital worlds. Because some people will want to work in the office and many people will continue to want to work digitally, and sort of bringing those two things together effectively, I think, is our next hurdle in terms of ways of working and collaborating. And I think that, again, coming back to this sort of ways of working, that rapid acceleration that we had in early 2020, where we all had to learn new ways of working, I think was healthy and really how we should operate all the time. I think it is very easy to sort of rest in our comfort zones. And so somehow creating that environment that helps us all to continue to innovate that in that accelerated way will be really healthy for us. I guess the next part for me is about the behavioral change. And what I would say in leading our team and wanting to make us agile in the ways that we work internally, I've learned a lot of things in the last couple of years, because whilst our team is out working with other organizations in an agile way, delivering in that way every day, when we come back and try and apply that same mindset in our own organization, we often come up against the similar barriers to what our clients are facing. And it can be quite hard for us to navigate inside Deloitte as well. So that's, sort of a constant area of learning for me. It's the mindset isn't enough. How do I then translate this into radically changed ways of working?
Thank you so much for sharing that, Lorraine. I think the element of the virtual world working that we're in right now that has had a biggest impact for me is in building client relationships. A lot of times I've not had issues collaborating with our teams and getting stuff done and delivering stuff, but it's where you've had to form new relationships. It has had a knock on impact. So, in the futuristic world, it feels a little bit like an amalgamation of the two would be the ideal mix that a lot of people are aspiring for. I know there are a lot of workplace surveys that almost every single organization has sent through, which is probably echoing a similar message around having an amalgamation of the two worlds. We didn't want to go too far to the right in terms of just virtual working, nor do we want to go too far to the left in terms of always physical working. I think somewhere in the middle would be the ideal happy medium.
Absolutely agree. And I think if the audience were to choose just one of those surveys, of course, I would look at the Global Human Capital Trends report from 2021. Really, really good reading in there and lots of ideas on this subject.
Lorraine, we covered how you have coached leaders through digital transformation. If you were to give one or two pieces of advice that anyone thinking about attempting digital transformation has to think about as they're starting out on the journey, what would that be?
Well, I've mentioned alignment, and I would say I would always start with alignment, not only at the leadership level, but throughout all layers in the organization. And I think the underpinning thing that creates that alignment is a shared purpose and a constant focus on business outcomes as opposed to business process or any kind of metrics. So the business outcome focus, I think, is an underpinning factor. I think the other advice I would have for leaders is to continue to attract and recruit top digital talent, because I think it's really important to grow the skills from within the organization, but the insertion of fresh thinking is always helpful and can really accelerate that cultivation of creativity that's so important in an environment where you're constantly experimenting and iterating.
Thanks, Lorraine. That's been really helpful. And thank you so much for sharing your experiences with us today. I'm sure our audience enjoyed listening to it, but also got some valuable insights in terms of how to empower their teams, how to bring about alignment of purpose, how to be a digital leader, and more importantly, how to practice what you set out to do. And thanks again for being with us today.
Artie, it's always so great to speak with you. Thank you so much for inviting me today.
This was a great way to wrap up our current series, a series that has looked at everything digital. We've explored digital contact centers, cloud migration, the inertia for cloud adoption. We've explored the various tech trends and now digital leadership. It would be remiss of me to not point out we've also had chats with some amazing women in cloud while celebrating Women's Day in March. So have a listen to each of these episodes. Please share the Cloud Speed series with your colleagues and friends on social media and subscribe to our podcast in a platform of your choice. If you'd like to find out more about Deloitte's cloud capabilities, please visit us at deloitte.co.uk/cloud. Until next time, this is me, Aarti Balakrishnan, signing off.